How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video. And today we're going to be looking at our Game Week 7 edition of Buy, Hold, and Sell. Players that I think that you should buy after coming off either a hole, a clean sheet, looking good. Maybe their fixtures are turning. Also, players that I think you should hang on to if they've either blanked or maybe are coming back from injury or something like that. And, maybe haven't done so well, but could have potentially had something a little bit more. And players that I think that you should sell, as they either haven't been good for a few weeks, have gotten injured, or overall their fixtures just don't look great enough to continue to hang on to them. If you haven't done so already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. You can also check out Twitter and Twitch. It's PilotFlame226 on those platforms. Give us a follow over there. We post all of our content for YouTube and Twitch when they go live over on Twitter. We also do a little announcement on Sundays to show you what's coming out throughout the week, and we do our game week discussion and deadline streams over on Twitch. This week we're doing our deadline stream the day before because the game is on Friday afternoon and I won't be home in time to do the deadline stream just for it. So we're doing it the night before at 7 p.m. EDT over on Twitch. Links are in the description. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So looking back at our Game Week 6 players that we said to buy, hold, and sell, unfortunately we had a bit of a mixed bag overall, and the Game Week wasn't really great for buy, hold, and sell overall. We did have one good buy and one good sell. The one good buy this week was Harry Kane. He did get an assist. If you brought him in for hit, it typically wasn't worth it. In my case, it was because of the players that I took in and out. Mitrovic being one of those on the sell list, which I did take out. And overall, I managed to net a few points. But if you went for Aguero over Kane, thinking the differential was going to pay off, unfortunately, it didn't. Aguero coming off at halftime due to a hamstring injury, and he could be out for 2 to 4 weeks. In the hold section, we had Pulisic, who only got 3 points, and Trent AlexanderArnold, who didn't pay off either. So both of those could potentially be looking at the next game weeks to improve that score. And then in the sell list, we had Mitrovic. He ended up paying off for us. I had him in my own team and I got rid of him after he had already gone down in price once. And selling Vardy turned out not to be a very good idea. He was on the bench. He did come on, and just like Jamie Vardy does versus the top 6 teams, he scores. So if he's gonna, potentially be on the bench, then we know that he can come on and score, especially if it is a tougher fixture. So I think if you did stick with him, good job on that front, and I would say stick with him even still, because like he is still on penalties, he is always a threat, and we know that even if he comes off the bench, he can definitely do damage. Now, the first player we have on our buy list this week is Ben Chilwell. He currently sits at 5.8 million. Is a defender for Chelsea. 27 points thus far, 1 goal, 2 assists, which is quite good for a defender. 17% owned, averages 9 points per game in the 3 games that he's played for Chelsea. His next game is versus a very poor Burnley side, and he averages quite high number of points, and that was showed last week when he got 6 points versus Manchester United, I believe. Yeah, they played against Manchester United. I forgot how boring of a game it actually was, to forget who he even played against. It ended up being a dull 0-0, which netted him a clean sheet. And I think he's definitely going to keep more clean sheets, especially with Burnley and the extra couple of fixtures that they have that are very low on the FDR rating coming up. He provides great attacking output, and I think that if Azpilicueta plays on the right-hand side of a back 4 or as the right wing back, then you could definitely see more of the ball going through Chilwell. I think that's the side they're going to lean to play through. Werner typically drifts over to that side. Pulisic is naturally a left-sided attacker, and Chilwell has a great delivery with his left foot. And I think that if you're looking at certain players, like I have Castagne currently, Chilwell's looking like a better option than both Castagne and the likes of Nelson Semedo in that price bracket. He is, starting to increase somewhat in price. Originally was 5.5 million. So you have to kind of look at him in the same vein as, the likes of, Doherty was 6 million, but Doherty of last season. So Digne's price point, that type of bracket rather than the 5.5. And he's only going to get even more and more expensive, because I think with Chelsea's fixtures coming up, I think they're going to get more clean sheets with Mendy in goal. And I think that Chilwell is just going to keep providing attacking output. So I think he's definitely going to be a good buy versus Burnley away this week. Now we have another defender on the buy list, and that is Kilman from Wolves. He currently sits at 4.1 million. He naturally plays as one of the back three in Wolves' system. He has 23 points in the 3 games he's played thus far, or 4 games. I think it's 3 games. He has 0 goals, but he does have 1 assist, funnily enough. He's 9.5% owned and averages 7.7 points per game. And his next fixture is fantastic versus Crystal Palace at home. And he got only, unluckily, 2 points in the 1-1 draw versus Newcastle in game week 6. Now, if you're someone like me who had Ferguson to start the season and don't really have any fires to put out in your team, you can definitely look to move Ferguson on, or potentially Mitchell, for Kilman, because he's in the same price bracket. For me, I'm potentially looking at getting rid of Ferguson so that I can have Kilman, Mitchell, because it looked like Mitchell potentially could keep his place, with Klein being the one substituted, and then him switching over to the right-hand side with Van Arnold going on the left-hand side of the back four. And I think with Wolves, still having a good fixture versus Crystal Palace, they've shown that they can give teams, a run for their money if they're tougher opposition, like Arsenal, like United. They've been 2 teams that they've done really well against. And other teams in the top 6, Man City as well is another one, just to name a few. And I think that as long as Roman Saiss is playing that left wing-back role, and Marcel is just more of the experience off the bench, you can definitely see Kilman playing in that back 3, because as long as Johnny Otto is out, who's the usual starting left wing back, you won't see Roman Saiss being, put in that back 3. There is a potential chance that we might see it this coming game week, because Marcel is back fit. But again, I think Kilman looks to be playing the better of the 2. Saiss just doesn't look like a left wing back, and I think that he may get dropped this game week for Marcel, and Kilman would be the one that stays in at the back 3, because Nuno doesn't really like to change his center backs all too much. He does experiment with, try at right wing back and that sort of stuff, but I think Kilman could be a sure bet, and he's a cheap defender. If you want to bring in somebody that's kind of going to be rotational, potentially with Mitchell or another cheaper defender, I think Kilman's going to be a great buy for this week and the weeks going forward. Now, the first player on our hold list, we mentioned him a little bit earlier, is Mitchell. He currently sits at 4.2 million. So if you had him since the start of the season, you've gained 0.1 million on him. So if you transfer him directly over to Kilman, you don't lose any value at all. He's had 15 points this season, no goals, 1 assist, 26.5% owned, and currently sitting on most people's benches, and averages 2.5 points per game. His next fixture is versus Wolves, who don't typically score very many, and only scored 2 points in game week 6. But I think if you're looking to play someone just every now and again, I think Mitchell could be, very good. I think you definitely hang on to him. It's not like he's going to go up or down in price crazily until people start wildcarding after the international break, or if he's definitely out of the team. But it looks like he's going to be keeping his place. Nathaniel Klein started with Van Arnold on the bench. Mitchell was playing in at left back, and when it came time to substituting someone, it was Nathaniel Klein that came off, and Mitchell went over to the right-hand side. So it shows that he could play either left or right fullback, which is good for his terms of, FPL, starting place. He can play on either side. So if, Klein were to get injured, we know that he's not going to be dropped for the likes of, one of the other Crystal Palace center backs or whatever, just to be placed at right back. Mitchell will play there, which is good for us to see. We still don't know how long Ferguson is going to be out for, so I think hang on to Mitchell for as long as you can. If we start seeing him getting dropped on back-to-back games, I think that definitely as a bench option, if you still have your wild card or you don't really have any transfers to make, you can look to the likes of Kilman or another, cheaper defender. Maybe go with 4.5 million defenders and then a more expensive defender to kind of balance that out and rotate them as you so please. But yeah, I think Mitchell is definitely a hold for me this week. I'm certainly going to keep him and play him potentially in some of the fixtures as long as he keeps his place that are beneficial for Palace defensively. Now, the other hold for this week is James Rodriguez. He currently sits at 8 million in the midfield slot, having increased in price by 0.5 million from 7.5 million as the original starting price. 41 points, 3 goals, 3 assists, 38.4% ownership, just shy of 7 points per game. Newcastle away, which is a fantastic fixture on paper for Everton, as they would like to get back their defeat from Southampton, and they're probably going to rectify it versus Newcastle, who have been not the greatest this season, only scoring 2 points in their game week 6 fixture. Now, I think that James Rodriguez is too key to be out of the Everton team. If he's going to be even 70%, 50%, he'll play because Ancelotti really likes him, and I think he's the only reason that James Rodriguez actually went to Everton was because of the draw of Ancelotti. Now, we have to see the extent of his injury, which is why I say he's a hold. If you're like me, who's had him since he's been 7.5 million, you would have a lot of value tied up in him. So I would say even if he's only out for 1 week, then I would say hang on to him. Even if he doesn't play this weekend, just look for your bench options like the Mitchells, like Kilmans, like, you know, any of the rotational 4.5 million defenders to play in his stead. But if, you know, Ancelotti comes out and says, oh, James is going to be out for 3 to 4 to 5 weeks, maybe more, then you can look to potentially get rid. But as we've seen in the press conference, Ancelotti isn't the, the slyest of devils, as it were. He did kind of make a little bit of a lie in his initial press conference, saying that James is probably not going to play, and then he said, oh no, he trained well, he's doing well, oh no, now he's going to play. So don't take anything that a manager necessarily says unless they say they're like definitely out, like how Bielsa does. So I think if you have James Rodriguez, you have value tied up in him. Hang on to him for now, wait for the press conference, see what Ancelotti says. If he says, you know, he might only be out for just this week, hang on to him, just play one of your bench options for this game week. First player we have on our sell list, who was recently on our buy list a couple of weeks ago, is Mopay. 6.6 million in the forward line, 36 points, 4 goals, 1 assist, just over 6% ownership. 6 average points per game. He has Spurs away as his next fixture, and he only got 2 points in the last game week. Now, I think Mopay is someone who has dropped off significantly and just hasn't found his shooting boots since the defeat at Manchester United. And I just think that he's just one of these players that could be very hit or miss throughout the season. Yes, he averages quite highly, you know, but those points came a lot in the one game where he scored a brace, and I just don't think he's, you know, taking the right decisions that he should be taking. He had himself in a beautiful position in game week 5 where he was on his right foot, could have shot and ended up cutting it back. And I just think that he's just all over the place at the moment. Not even scoring versus West Brom, who have been conceding a lot of goals and also have been conceding a lot of big chances. And if you can't score versus West Brom, I don't think it's worth keeping. Again, Mitrovic will have that test, I believe. It's either this week or next week. So we'll see how he fares in that as well. But if you can't score against these teams that are going to be in and around the bottom and you're going to be fighting for relegation, I don't think it's going to be worth it even at his price point. So I think Mopay is definitely a sell for me this game week. And the last player we have on our sell list here is Trent AlexanderArnold. Now, this may be a bit of a controversial one. I've already gone ahead and sold him even before the start of game week 6. We're going into game week 7 now, so I was able to, you know, dodge his only 2-pointer. I still have Robertson in my team, but I just felt that Robertson was a better outlet for Liverpool attack from the defensive position. He currently sits at 7.4 million, having dropped 0.1 in the last couple of days. Only 17 points, so 0 goals, 1 assist. So that averages 2.8 points per game, which isn't great from someone who's almost 7.5 million. He does have West Ham at home coming up next, and he is quite highly owned, but I just think his output just hasn't been the same. We find Jordan Henderson and Gini Wijnaldum, these sorts of players, drifting into that more forward right space, whereas he's sitting a bit deeper. I think with the lack of Van Dijk in the team, also Fabinho is now potentially out with a longer term injury. You could definitely see Trent's output from set pieces, you know, going down. Robertson's taking a lot more corners as well, and I think he's taken a lot more just at the start of the season, and Robertson seems to be taking them from both sides, whereas Trent maybe only from just the right hand side. I just think that Trent's just a bit too expensive for his, you know, lack of output. Free kicks, yes, he'll probably get a game where he gets a free kick and a clean sheet with Alisson back in goal. But again, if you don't have Van Dijk, if you don't have Fabinho, and you have Matip and Gomez as your center back pairing, I don't care how good of a defender Alisson is, they ain't keeping that clean sheet. And then you're relying on the attacking outputs, which Trent has, you know, yet to perform on a very high or consistent level. And I just think Robertson just meets the eye test a lot better. His heat map is very similar to that of Mane's in terms of the positions he's taking up. He's getting into the box more often, whereas Trent's just not getting anywhere near the box and relying on the deep lying, you know, crosses, which he had one ruled out, but again, Salah was offside. That's going to happen. That's the type of ball he can do, but I just think at the moment, he's definitely a sell for me. I would only go with either Trent or Robertson, and I think Robertson's the favorite here. So, Alexander-Arnold, sell for Game Week 7. And that's going to do it for our Game Week 7 edition of Buy, Hold, and Sell. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like on it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. It greatly helps out the channel. And turn those notification bells on so you can get our content and posts as soon as they are readily available. And leave a comment down below as to who you're potentially getting rid of, hanging on to, or buying this coming game week. Also give us a follow over on Twitter and Twitch, PilotFlame226, on those platforms where you can get all the updates as to what YouTube videos and Twitch streams are coming out when they go live over on Twitter. And we will be doing our game week deadline-ish stream this Thursday at 7 p.m. EDT. We have to do it the night before because I won't be home in time for the actual deadline, which is around midday-ish for me. So I'm going to be doing it the night before. It's going to be the same for Game Week 8 as well because of the games having a Friday fixture for the game week. But it seems to be reverting back to Saturday start times as per normal, which we will then revert back to the normal deadline stream time when those do come back around. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.